So in this video, I'm going to show how to turn something like a 3D model like this into plans that you can laser cut or scratch build. So first thing you're going to want to do is have, planes of some sort that you can obviously turn into something foamboard. So you can see that this fuselage has 8 sides, and you can, make that out of 8 pieces of foam board that would fold together to make that fuselage. So first thing is I'm going to activate this component. It's just a external component that's not part of anything of my actual design. I just like to keep things separate. So this is this flat surface here, this top surface. I'm going to start with that one just to show you how I go about doing it. I'll go into my different component, just the separate things. I'll hit create sketch. I'll do it right on this surface, so you can see that orange area is the sketch that I have enclosed on that sketch plane. And so if I go into here, I save as DXF, we'll say as test1 something, right? Hit save. I'm going to open up AutoCAD, which is what we'll be using to do the 2D design, if you will. I'm going to open up test1 just to show you. So this is test 1, and it's in units of whatever units you had in Fusion 360. It is upside down, but that's something you can easily fix later. So now you've got it in a 2D form, so that's good. I'm going to close this for now. So in cases where, say I'm looking to export, I want to export this face, okay? So it's at a slant, so sometimes it's kind of difficult to reach. So if I hit create sketch, it's kind of hard to select it, and sometimes it's actually straight up impossible to select it. So I can select that plane, but as soon as it's like tilted into more than one dimension, it's very hard to select, or sometimes it's not actually flat. It'll look flat, but if you zoom in, one side will be maybe like a millionth of an inch higher than the other, which will make it curved, and Fusion will let you create a sketch on a curved surface. So what you'll have to do is you have to bypass a little bit. I use the plane through 3 points tool, so I'm going to go back into the component that matters. I'm going to hit 3 corners of the plane that makes three corners of the surface that I'm trying to export. Oops, didn't select the tool again. Sorry. So hit 3 points. Alright, now that you got 3 points, 3 points will define a plane, and since the 4th one, it might be off only like a millionth of an inch, that plane will pretty much, for all intents and purposes, be in plane with the surface that you're trying to export. So you can hit OK, now you've got that plane. Now what you're going to do is create a sketch on that plane. So you can select the plane very easily, but it's not so easy to select the surface. Now that you have that plane, the sketch plane rather, on the construction plane, you need to project the surface onto your sketch plane. And I use the project 3D geometry tool, so I'm going to just select that plane, and boom, it takes that plane and puts it onto our sketch plane. So remember that since the real surface plane is practically parallel and in plane with our sketch plane, even though it's a projection, it'll be close enough, and for all intents and purposes be perfectly the same. Hit stop sketch, and once again, now that you've got this sketch, this is something that you can just save and export. And so remember, if you can use the create sketch tool on a surface, you don't need to do any projections. But if you're using construction planes and constructing on and creating a sketch on those, you definitely need to project whatever 3D geometry it is onto your sketch plane. So basically, I've already done that in a previous component. So in here, I've got literally every single face that could possibly that could exist on the fuselage of my plane, and I've gone ahead and saved them all and opened them all. Guess not. So I've got them all saved at least, so I'm going to go ahead and open them. You might want to choose a better naming scheme that I've done here. I'm holding down the control key to open up multiple drawings at once, by the way. I'm just going to go ahead and select every single one. I don't want the test. Alright, this will slowly pop open all of them. Eventually, great. So, oh, another quick thing. If I think it's this one, right? So this little profile here is actually, I think it's this surface right here. And since it was so close to being symmetrical on both sides, but I know that it's not actually symmetrical on both sides, I decided to add a little stray line up here in this top right hand corner just to show me which corner is the top right corner. So I think it was P. I don't remember. Yeah, P. Yeah. So that shows me that this is the top right hand corner, so I can orient it later when I stitch the whole design together. So let's start by creating a new design. I'm going to go into here. Let's call it F86-2, since I have actually made a, oops, I cannot do a template. Why not just do that? Yeah, that works. Alright, and I'm going to save this as F86-2 because this is my second version of this plan. Save that. Alright. I think I've actually opened too many, but alright. So this is one of the designs. I like to keep the file exports on their own, and I like to copy it into whatever design I'm actually working out of. So paste that in. Doesn't matter where you paste it in, but just get it in there. So I'll go to whatever the next one is. Where is it? Right there. Okay. So now that we've got two components, and we know that from our design, this piece right here, which is the first one I brought in, the second piece that I brought in right here, they need to be stitched together. But we brought them in from separate designs, so we got to bring them together. So I select everything, I just click once and click again. That selects everything. Then you can either hit the move key, or you can type move as a command. Okay. Then what I'll ask you to do is to select a base point. So if I select this bottom corner, that's what I'm going to be moving off of. If I select some other corner, that's like the point that I get to move around. And why that's important is I'm going to pick that corner as the base point, and that way I can line it up perfectly with that point. So now we've got two lines on top of each other. So using this technique of just pasting something in and connecting it, I'm using just Control-C right here and Control-V, I can stitch together that thing. And conveniently in that case, it actually gave me the base point as that corner, so I didn't even have to do the move command, I just pasted it in directly. Ooh, quick thing that you noticed, that you might have already noticed, and what I just noticed, is when I pasted it in, it's actually upside down, and I actually couldn't paste it together. It's actually, see, this is the battery bay area, and that needs to go down here. So can't quite just paste it in. So I'm going to take that and use the rotate tool. And for this case, your base point doesn't really matter for the rotate. It just makes things easier if you do it towards the middle-ish. And it should automatically give you the option to snap to a 180-degree rotation. So that's what I do. I'm going to select everything again. I'm going to use the move tool. I'm going to hit that corner. I'm going to bring it in to that place. Great. So now that's together. Next, I'm going to get, I think this last section. Yep, Control C, bring it back to my design, paste it in, it's upside down, select it, rotate it, select it again, move it, click. Okay, so that's an entire length of our fuselage put together. If you ever want to know how long it is, in the flattened version, you can use the measure tool and you just pick any corner, you bring it to the edge. So this one is 26 inches long right now. Okay, so that's that. Because I'm actually laser cutting on sheets that are 24 maximum, my design, I actually split this fuselage section from this nose section-ish, and I cut them separately on separate sheets of foam because my maximum length of cut is 24 inches. So if I look at this, right, that's under 24 inches, which is reasonable. Okay, and if we did have them connected, each one of these horizontal lines would be a point of fold, which would make sense, right? I can fold the foam down in here. But I can also have something where I have each one of these lines running in from bottom left to top right, that the foam folds along one of these lines. And both are good options for foam. You definitely want to have your foam folding instead of just separate pieces and glued together, because then the paper's still connected and that adds a lot of strength. The problem is, if I'm picking this as a fold direction, this axis or this joint as a fold direction, it becomes a little bit tricky to assemble the plans. So let's take a look. This is part E. Copy that in. I'm going to paste it in right there. Then let's get part F. It's already open, it's fine. Just give it to me. Where is it? Part F. Okay. Paste it in. I've already marked the top right hand corners of these pieces because they're a little ambiguous for me. So the first thing that you'll need to do is you're going to rotate it to, you're going to rotate it to what it's approximately going to be. Actually, let me double check that it's in the top right hand corner. Yes, it is in the top right hand corner. Okay. And that's a little bit of a problem. It seems as if this piece was exported a little upside down. Right? There's no way that I can rotate this. So if I rotated that into the top, select, rotate. Nope. Select, rotate. There we go. If I rotate into the top right hand corner, that's definitely not the right orientation. So I'm going to use a mirror tool real quick. Doesn't matter what line you mirror it. I do want to erase the source object because I only want one of these. Select again, now it's in the right orientation. But rotate it to like something close to what it's supposed to be. Not super close because I do want some differentiation. And I know that this corner is the corner that needs to go into there. I connect it. Now the problem is, remember, if I wanted this line as my joint, I need to somehow bring this line in connection with this line. I've already got it at one point, but I need it in the rest. So this is where we come back, select it all, I'm going to hit rotate again, and then I'm going to hit this as my base point. And you can see it's kind of hard to just arbitrarily pick an angle of rotation if it's not a solid 90. Like it locks here, it locks there for me, but it doesn't lock the way I want it to. So I'm going to hit the down arrow key till that says reference, and hit enter. Now I'm going to specify the reference angle. Okay, so I clicked once at the base point and once at the tip. Now this is my reference line, this edge pretty much. I can drag it so that it's coincident with that point. So now I've gone ahead and connected those up, which is very nice. I can do the same with this tool. This piece rather. Going to rotate it. And this one, it doesn't look like you need to mirror it. I'm going to bring it in. connect it at that point. Then I'm going to rotate. I want that as my base point. I don't want a rotation angle. I want a reference angle. Hit the base point again. Hit the end point. You can zoom in with the mouse scroll key and bring it in. Alright, now that's my joint. And actually, I think I'm going to actually have this as my base point, but then for my reference, I think I actually want from here to here, I want that together. Yeah, I like that design better, just so I save a little bit more space on the laser cut, so it kind of like covers a small of arc, right? So if I did off of this angle down here, it would have curved more. Alright. Alright, so now I've exported or imported all the rest of the sides and put them together here. And for the for the nose area, since I didn't really change the design of it, I just brought in the design from my previous file. So you can see here I've got it all colored. Another thing that's special about the design is that each line, there's only one line per thing, right? It's not like the previous ones where they're doubled up. So to solve the double up problem, I'm going to select entire thing, type overkill, press enter, and that just deletes everything. So you can see 4 duplicate segments deleted, overlapping segments are deleted. Great! So now the next step you want to do is basically differentiate between what is score cuts and what are full cuts. So you can click here. You don't need to hold down any control keys or anything. Just select all the lines that you think should be score cuts. So I'm just going to go ahead and select those. So traditionally these kinds of fin holes, oh no, those fin holes have to be through cuts. These guys, yeah, these guys gotta go all the way through. Actually, I'll take a chance real quick. Take the chance to show you something real quick. So this line is some line that I had before. I originally wanted the full length of this line as kind of a measurement tool for the horizontal stabilizer, which goes in here. But in the end, I don't really need it. But the problem is, in my CAD, I had that line, but now this isn't enclosed. So if you ever need to go ahead and just draw in a line real quick, you can just hit the line tool and connect it. You might need to zoom in more, as this snaps to vertical. So you want to make sure you're snapping to the points that actually matter. So that just finished up that box. You want to avoid drawing lines in AutoCAD because you don't want to do the actual design of your components in AutoCAD. You want to do AutoCAD only for the final export per se. So I've got all those ready. And actually, before I do colors real quick, one thing that you do need to do is this needs to get mirrored. So I'm going to hit all of those, right, because there's 2 sides of the fuselage, so I need to mirror it. Select everything. It's asking for a mirror line. Well, I'll just do the middle of these 2 tabs. And no, I don't want to erase the source objects. Alright, great. And this thing is the bottom, so I actually don't need the bottoms. I don't need 2 bottoms, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete the bottoms. Hit delete. And like I said, sometimes it's not worth your time trying to make sure you're not deleting things that matter, and sometimes it's easier just to go ahead and delete them anyways and redraw in the lines that you need, right? Because as long as you don't delete too many lines, like say if I delete that line, it's fine if I lose that line because I still have the 2 reference points to where it connects to. So it's fine if you accidentally delete some lines through some operations, right? That fuselage is in place, and just to make sure, I'm going to select everything and run overkill on it again. Yep, sometimes you always have overlapping lines when you don't know about them. Alright, So now I'm going to go back and select everything that I want to be a score cut. I want these tab holes to be score cuts because one side of the foam and the paper needs to stay, but the outside of it is essentially the outside of the plane, rather. So it's fine if I keep the external paper coating. I just need to remove the foam from the inside. So that's why I'm going to say all of those are score cuts. This one's a score cut. These are score cuts. These guys will be score cuts. Servo hose will not be score cuts. These, what do you call them? Holes for barbecue skewers, those will not be score cuts. These are all through hole. Right, so now that you've got all the lines that you want to be score cuts, most laser cutters differentiate their cutting modes by color. So you want to change the color real quick. And it looks like we've got a duplicate line, I think. Actually, let's see what happens if we delete that. Huh, can I select that? Yeah. This is why I always say you should run overkill more than once. Huh, wow, I actually didn't find it. Okay, I'll say that's a bug with AutoCAD. But you can kind of tell that it's a little messed up. You can see there's something's off with the color. So always do an eyeball test, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and hold down Control. Try to. Alright, well, I guess I don't need to hit that one. I don't want that line. Yeah. So that's now a score cut. Yeah, most laser cutter softwares, they differentiate their cutting modes by color. And alright, that's pretty much a fuselage done for the F-86, or my F-86. Whenever you're exporting your 3D models, this is pretty much how you're going to turn it into a plan. Yep. So this is something you can save as a DXF or as a PDF. You can print it out, you can laser cut it, you can do whatever you want with it. Oh, another quick tool. Let's see if it works. So say you saw that I had to click every single line that I wanted to change into a score cut. But let's say that you're at the last minute, you have to change your laser cutter, and this other dude's laser cutter, they have different color settings. So maybe red doesn't work. Maybe it needs to be something else. You can use two tools, and sometimes one works and the other one doesn't. You better hope that at least one of them works. So I like to do a select similar command. So I'm going to pick that one and press enter. Yeah, so the select sim doesn't actually work too well in this case because it's not sure what you mean by similar. But the idea is select sim just picks all the lines that are very similar to it. So that didn't work out too well. I'm not an expert. I'm just here to make a guide. So the other tool that you can use is Q-Select. And Q-Select's a bit more controlled. So I want to select by color. I want the color to be equal to red. And sometimes you can change it from include to exclude, whichever one is more applicable to what you're doing, and you can uncheck that if you want. Hit OK. Ah, that works. So now I've selected every single red line that I've got, and I can easily change it to something like cyan if my thing is cyan. Control Z always works as a thing. So that's color changing. And most laser cutters, they might want either 0 line thickness or something very small. My laser cutter needs just 0 line thickness. But otherwise, I think that's pretty much all for this tutorial. Thanks for watching.